Your phone rings. The number looks familiar. The voice sounds calm, official, completely in control. Before you have time to think, really think, you have already given them what they came for. That is not carelessness. That is not naivete. That is your brain working exactly the way it was designed to work, and scammers have known that for a long time. There is a reason scam operations around the world train their callers with scripts built around psychology, not technology. The Federal Trade Commission reported that Americans lost more than $10 billion to fraud in 2023, the highest number ever recorded. And the people behind those losses are not relying on sophisticated hacking tools. They are relying on something far more powerful. They are relying on you being human. So what do they actually know about your brain? More than you might expect. The first thing every experienced scammer understands is something researchers call the urgency effect. It is not a trick unique to fraud. It is a documented feature of human decision-making. When we perceive a threat as time-sensitive, a specific part of the brain, called the amygdala, activates and begins to suppress a slower, more deliberate thinking handled by the prefrontal cortex. In plain language, urgency shuts down the part of your brain that asks questions. This is why every scam you have ever heard of starts with a clock. Your account will be closed in 24 hours. Your warrant will be issued today. Your package was flagged this morning. The moment you feel rushed, your brain stops evaluating and starts reacting. And that is exactly where they want you. Researchers at Stanford published findings confirming that under conditions of perceived threat and time pressure, even highly intelligent, educated adults make decisions they would never make in a calm, reflective state. Not some adults, all adults. This is not a vulnerability of age or experience. It is a vulnerability of being alive. The second thing scammers know is the power of authority. There is a principle in social psychology called authority bias, the tendency to trust and comply with anyone or anything that presents as an official, credentialed source. It was documented extensively by psychologist Robert Cialdini, who spent years studying the patterns that make people say yes when they should say wait. When a caller tells you they are from the Social Security Administration, your brain does something automatic. It shifts into a mode of deference. It stops asking whether this person has a right to demand your information and starts asking how quickly you can cooperate. This is not weakness. This is how human societies function. We are wired to respect structure and authority because in most circumstances, doing so serves us well. Scammers exploit the same wiring. They do not need a badge. They need a tone, a confident, measured voice, an official-sounding organization name, a reference number that sounds real. Your brain fills in the rest. The third thing they know, and this is the one most people never expect, is how to use kindness. Not every scam is built around pressure and fear. Some of the most effective frauds ever documented begin with warmth. They begin with someone who seems to understand you, who takes time with you, who calls back to check in. The FBI's 2023 Elder Fraud Report found that romance scams and relationship-based confidence fraud accounted for billions in losses, and the average victim of a romance scam lost over $50,000. These are not impulsive decisions made in seconds. These are relationships built over weeks and months. The psychology behind them is called grooming, a gradual process of building trust, meeting emotional needs, and then once a relationship feels real and safe, introducing a request that the victim would never have considered at the beginning. Your brain is not broken for responding to kindness. Kindness is supposed to signal safety. Scammers simply know how to simulate it. So now you know what they know. What do you watch for? The first red flag is a countdown. Any message, a call, an email, a text, a letter, that tells you something terrible will happen unless you act in the next few hours is using urgency deliberately. Legitimate institutions do not operate this way. Your bank does not give you a 2-hour window. The IRS does not threaten immediate arrest by phone. Whenever a clock appears in the message, slow down. The second red flag is a payment method you have never used with this organization before. gift cards, wire transfers, cryptocurrency, Zelle to an account you do not recognize. These payment methods are almost exclusively demanded by scammers because they cannot be reversed. No real government agency, no real utility company, no real financial institution will ever ask you to pay a legitimate bill or fine with a gift card, ever. The third red flag is a request for secrecy. If someone on the phone tells you not to discuss this with your family, not to mention it to your bank, not to tell anyone until it is resolved, stop. That instruction is not about protecting you. It is about isolating you from anyone who might interrupt the scam before it is complete. Real help does not need to be hidden. So what is the one thing you can do right now? The next time you receive any unexpected communication, a call, a text, an email, a letter, that asks you to take action, hang up, close the message, or set the letter down. Then independently look up the official contact information for the organization they claim to be from. Not the number they gave you, not the link in the email, the number you find yourself on the official website or on the back of your card. Call that number and ask whether the communication was real. That single step, independently verifying before you respond, dismantles every scam in this video. It removes the urgency. It bypasses the authority. Gives your prefrontal cortex the time it needs to do its job. Your phone rang. The number looked familiar. The voice sounded calm and completely in control. But now you know what that voice was counting on, and you know exactly what to do instead. If you found this helpful, consider giving this video a like and subscribe to the channel. Every Sunday and Wednesday, I break down real scams in plain English so you can stay informed and stay protected. Until next time, stay smart, stay safe, and stay one step ahead of scammers.